My CEO stole my idea and took credit, so I launched it myself and made him watch. The boardroom lights felt too bright. I stood at the front, trembling hands gripping my presentation clicker. 30 years at Braylock Innovations had led to this moment. My energy-saving software prototype, Project Helios. The screens behind me displayed clean data, revolutionary efficiency numbers that could transform manufacturing forever. I was 57, and this was my legacy. Halfway through my explanation of the algorithm, Trent Hollis stood up. Our CEO, 42 and hungry, flashed his practiced smile. "Let me clarify what Eric's trying to say," he interrupted smoothly. He began rephrasing my concepts, my language, my vision, as his own. The board members nodded, scribbling notes. Nobody looked at me anymore. My throat tightened. Trent gestured broadly at my slides. "My team and I have been developing this framework for months," he declared. The room erupted in applause. For him, not me. I stood frozen, watching my work dissolve into his spotlight. When the clapping stopped, Trent turned to me with that smug grin. "You're still sharp, Danner. You make a great support man." Support man. The words burned through my chest. I looked around the table. Colleagues I'd worked with for decades avoided my eyes. My jaw clenched. I picked up my laptop quietly. "Support man," I repeated, my voice barely audible. Then I walked out, leaving the door swinging behind me. The office felt different after that meeting. Hallways went silent when I approached. Emails I sent got no replies. People who used to chat with me suddenly had urgent meetings to attend. Word had spread fast. Eric Danner got pushed aside. Again. 3 days later, Trent called me into his glass office. He didn't invite me to sit. "Eric, I'm reassigning you," he said, tapping his pen against his desk. "We need someone experienced on the archive migration project." Archive migration was corporate exile, a meaningless task they gave people before pushing them out. I stood there, hands in my pockets, saying nothing. He continued, you could retire gracefully. You've earned it. 30 years is a good run." His tone was casual, like he was suggesting lunch options. HR sent me an email an hour later with the same message. Consider retirement. Transition support available. I read it twice, then closed my laptop. That afternoon, I started clearing my desk. Old photos, awards nobody remembered, a coffee mug my daughter gave me. As I packed the last box, I reached into my drawer and pulled out a small flash drive. Project Helios, original build. Every line of code, every blueprint, every timestamp proving it was mine. I slipped it into my jacket pocket and walked toward the exit, my box tucked under one arm. No farewell party. No handshake. Just silence. The parking lot was nearly empty. Gray clouds hung low, threatening rain. I sat in my car, staring at the building I'd given 3 decades to. My hands gripped the steering wheel, knuckles white. I pulled out my phone and opened a voice recording app. I needed to hear myself say it out loud. I pressed record. "My name is Eric Danner. I'm 57 years old. Today, my CEO stole my life's work and humiliated me in front of people I trusted. They think I'm done. Washed up. Too old to matter." I paused, swallowing hard. If they think I'm done, they're wrong. I stopped the recording and sat in silence. Rain began tapping against the windshield. For a moment, I felt the weight of every year, every sacrifice, every late night. Then my phone buzzed. An email. From Mara Lee, a junior engineer I'd mentored. The subject line read, "Sir, I know what Trent did." My breath caught. I opened it quickly. Her message was short but direct. "I saw him download your files 2 weeks before the meeting. I have screenshots. I don't know what to do. Please call me." I stared at the screen, my heart pounding. Someone knew. Someone had proof. But what could I do with it? Sue? Leak it? Destroy him publicly? No, that wasn't my style. I looked at the flash drive sitting on my passenger seat. Then I made my decision. I wasn't going to lawyers. I was going to build it myself. I met Mara at a coffee shop across town the next morning. She looked nervous, glancing around like someone might be watching. I ordered us both coffee and sat across from her at a corner table. "Thank you for reaching out," I said quietly. She nodded, hands wrapped around her cup. "I couldn't stay silent, Mr. Danner. What he did was wrong." She pulled out her phone and showed me the screenshots, download logs, file timestamps, internal emails where Trent instructed someone to gather Eric's progress notes. It was all there. Proof. Undeniable proof. My jaw tightened as I scrolled through the images. Mara leaned forward. "We can take this to the board." Or the media. We can expose him. I looked at her, young, passionate, ready to fight. I appreciated that. But I shook my head slowly. Mara, if you do that, you'll lose your job. Maybe worse. Trent plays dirty. I don't care. I do, I interrupted gently. You stay quiet. Keep your job. Keep your head down. Let me handle this my way. She looked frustrated but eventually nodded. I finished my coffee and stood up. Thank you for believing me. That means more than you know. As I walked to my car, I felt something shift inside me. I wasn't angry anymore. I was focused. Trent took credit for my idea. Fine. Now I'd show him what the real version looked like. The next 2 weeks were brutal. I pitched my concept to investors, venture capitalists, anyone who'd listen. Every meeting ended the same way. You're impressive, Eric, but 57? That's a tough sell. Or, we're looking for younger leadership. Or my favorite, this feels like something from 10 years ago. I sat in my car after the 5th rejection, staring at my phone. Maybe they were right. Maybe I was too old. Too slow. Out of touch. I almost gave up. Then my phone rang. Unknown number. I answered cautiously. Eric Danner, a rough voice asked. This is Eli Turner. I own Turner Manufacturing. We met about 15 years ago at a trade expo. I remembered him, gruff, straightforward, a factory owner who valued real work over corporate talk. I heard you left Braylock, Eli continued. Word is you've got something big. Something real. I explained Project Helios briefly. There was a pause. Then Eli said, I've got an empty workshop floor. No rent. You use my space, test your system on my machines. If it works, we split the savings. If it doesn't, you owe me nothing. I couldn't believe it. Why would you do that? Because 30 years ago, you helped my brother fix a system nobody else could figure out. He never forgot that. Neither did I. I closed my eyes, exhaling slowly. When can I start? Tomorrow morning. 6 a.m. I smiled for the first time in weeks. I'll be there. Eli's workshop smelled like metal, oil, and old coffee. The floor was cold concrete, machines lined up in rows, tools scattered on workbenches. It wasn't glamorous, but it was real. And it was mine. I set up my station in the corner, laptop, monitors, cables, the flash drive. Mara had been secretly sending me updates about Braylock. Trent's version of Helios was a mess. Bugs everywhere. Crashes during testing. But he kept pushing forward, announcing a public launch in 3 months. I worked 16-hour days. My back ached. My eyes burned. But every line of code I wrote felt like reclaiming a piece of myself. Eli's workers would pass by, curious. Some asked questions. I explained what I was building, a system that could cut their energy costs in half. One night, around 11, Eli brought me a thermos of coffee. You're gonna kill yourself working like this, he muttered. I smiled. I've got 3 months to beat him, Eli. Sleep can wait. He sat down on a stool beside me. You really think you can pull this off? I looked at my screen. Lines of code flowing, calculations running clean. I don't think. I know. He nodded slowly, then stood up. Then I believe you. As he walked away, my phone buzzed. A text from Mara. Trent just announced Helios launch, 90 days. I cracked my knuckles and kept typing. 2 months in, I hit a wall. The software worked, but it wasn't enough. If I wanted to beat Trent, I needed something revolutionary. A new algorithm that could optimize energy flow in real time, adapting to machine behavior instantly. It was risky. I'd never tested it. One wrong calculation could fry an entire system. But safe wouldn't win. Safe wouldn't prove anything. I stayed up all night coding, muttering to myself. You took credit for my work, Trent. Now you'll see what real work looks like. My fingers flew across the keyboard. Numbers filled the screen. Graphs spiked and leveled. At 4 a.m, I hit enter. The system compiled. I held my breath as the prototype booted up. The machines in Eli's factory hummed to life, connected to my software. Data streamed across my monitors. Then the numbers appeared. Energy efficiency, 42% improvement. Cost savings, projected $180,000 annually for a mid-sized facility. My original design maxed out at 30%. I leaned back in my chair, exhaling shakily. It worked. It actually worked. My hands trembled as I saved the file. This wasn't just good. This was game-changing. I grabbed my phone and texted Eli. We need to run a full test tomorrow. I think I've got something. His reply came instantly. I'll clear the schedule. Let's do this. I smiled, exhausted but alive. Trent had no idea what was coming. Disaster struck 3 days later. A power surge during testing wiped out half my code. I stared at the blank sections of my screen, panic rising in my chest. Weeks of work gone. Just gone. I tried recovery software. Nothing. Backup files corrupted. I sat there, hands on my head, feeling the weight of 57 years pressing down. The exhaustion, the loneliness, the constant uphill fight. It was too much. Eli found me slumped at my desk an hour later. "What happened?" he asked quietly. I couldn't even answer. He called his daughter, Nina, a young programmer who freelanced for tech startups. She arrived within an hour, laptop in hand. "Let me see," she said, sliding into the chair beside me. I explained what happened. She didn't flinch. "We can try deep recovery. It'll take time, but I've done it before." For 6 hours, she worked. I watched, helpless, as she navigated through corrupted data. Finally, at midnight, she leaned back. "Got it. 90% recovered." Relief flooded through me. 90%. She grinned. "And I found something else, old company logs embedded in your backup. Timestamps showing exactly when Trent accessed your files." I stared at the screen. Proof. Concrete, undeniable proof of his theft. Nina looked at me seriously. "You're not alone in this, Mr. Danner." I nodded slowly, throat tight. "Thank you." She smiled. "Now let's finish this thing." Mara called me the next morning, voice urgent. "Eric, you need to leak those logs. If people see what Trent did." "No," I interrupted. "I'm not doing that." "But, Mara, if I go down that road, I become him. I become someone who tears people down instead of building something better." I paused. "I'm not interested in destroying Trent. I'm interested in proving he was wrong." She went quiet. Finally, she sighed. "You're a better person than me." I smiled faintly. "I'm just tired of fighting dirty." That afternoon, I saw Trent on a tech news segment. He sat in a sleek studio, confident and polished. "Project Helios represents the future of sustainable manufacturing," he declared. "My team created this from scratch, and I'm proud to bring it to the world." From scratch. I watched him lie effortlessly, his smile never faltering. The host asked, "What inspired this innovation?" Trent leaned back. "I've always believed in pushing boundaries. This company thrives because we're not afraid to think differently. My company. My boundaries. My thinking." I turned off the TV. But I wasn't angry. I was calm. Focused. Because in 60 days, the world would see the truth. I opened my laptop and got back to work. Actions speak louder than interviews. 3 weeks later, we ran a full test at Eli's factory. Every machine connected, every sensor live. I stood in the control room, watching the monitors. Eli's workers gathered, curious and skeptical. I activated the system. The hum of machinery shifted slightly, smoother, more efficient. Data streamed in. Energy consumption dropped immediately. 20 minutes in, the numbers stabilized. 40% energy savings. Clean. Consistent. Flawless. Eli's workers erupted in cheers. One older mechanic clapped me on the shoulder. "I've been here 30 years. Never seen anything like this." Eli stood beside me, arms crossed, grinning. "You did it, Eric." I nodded, unable to speak. This wasn't just a win. It was validation. Proof that I wasn't washed up or outdated. I was still capable. Still relevant. Word spread fast in local business circles. By the end of the week, I received calls from 3 other manufacturers wanting demos. Then came the email that changed everything. Subject: investment opportunity. A regional investor named Carter Mills wanted a meeting. He'd heard about my system through a factory owner contact. "I think you're onto something big," his email read. "Let's talk." I stared at the message, heart pounding. This was real. This was actually happening. I replied immediately, "I'm available anytime." The first real sign of hope. And I wasn't letting it slip away. The investor meeting was in a downtown cafe. I arrived early, rehearsing my pitch. Carter Mills walked in, 50s, sharp suit, confident stride. But the man with him made me freeze. Harold Brooks, Trent's former COO at Braylock. I'd worked with Harold for years before he left the company. He recognized me immediately and smiled. "Eric Danner, I heard you were building something interesting." We sat down. Harold explained he was now an independent consultant, connecting investors with promising tech. "Carter asked me to vet this meeting. When I saw your name, I knew I had to come." I explained Project Helios, the real version. The efficiency gains, the scalability, the potential. Carter listened intently, asking sharp questions. Harold watched me with something like respect. Finally, Carter leaned back. I'm interested. I can connect you with national manufacturers. But I need to see more data. I can provide that, I said quickly. Harold spoke up. I'll make introductions. I've still got contacts across the industry. He paused, his expression darkening. I never liked that smug kid, Eric. What Trent did to you was wrong. I met his eyes. Thank you. As we stood to leave, Harold pulled me aside. Eric, listen. If you go up, he'll notice. And Trent plays dirty. Be ready. I nodded slowly. I'm ready. Walking to my car, I felt something shift. I wasn't alone anymore. I had allies, resources, momentum, and Trent had no idea. It didn't take long. 2 weeks after my investor meeting, I received a cease and desist letter from Braylock Innovations' legal team. They claimed I'd stolen intellectual property, violated my employment contract, and unlawfully used proprietary company resources. I read the letter twice, then laughed. Actually laughed. Trent was panicking. He'd heard whispers of Tech, my new company, and now he was scrambling. I called my lawyer, a sharp woman named Linda Cross. She read the letter and smirked. This is garbage. They have no standing. Can they cause problems? I asked. They can try. But Eric, you've got the original timestamps, the code signatures, the proof that you built this on your own time with your own equipment. If they push this, they'll lose badly. I nodded. What do we do? She smiled. We respond. One line. That afternoon, Linda sent Braylock's legal team a message. Proceed if you're sure you want discovery. Discovery meant exposing everything. Emails, files, internal documents. If Trent pushed forward, the truth about his theft would come out in court. Publicly. Legally. 3 days later, the cease and desist was quietly withdrawn. No explanation. No follow-up. Just silence. I texted Harold. Trent blinked. His reply. Told you. He's a coward when cornered. I closed my phone, smiling. Round 1 went to me. A week later, Mara showed up at my workshop in tears. I was debugging code when she walked in, shoulders shaking, mascara streaked. He fired me, she choked out. I stood immediately. What happened? Trent suspected I was helping you. He couldn't prove it, but he didn't need to. He made me sign an NDA and escorted me out. She wiped her eyes. I'm sorry, Eric. I tried to stay quiet. Stop, I interrupted gently. This isn't your fault. Trent's lashing out because he's scared. She looked at me, vulnerable and lost. What do I do now? I grabbed a chair and sat her down. You join my team. Officially. I can't pay you much yet, but once we launch, you'll get equity. Real equity. And Mara, your NDA doesn't cover work you do here. This is my company, my code. You're safe. She looked up, hope flickering in her eyes. You'd really hire me? You believed in me when nobody else did. Of course I'm hiring you. She hugged me tightly. Thank you. 2 days later, Mara walked into my workshop and immediately spotted an inefficiency in my power distribution algorithm. If you shift this variable here, she said, pointing at my screen, you could double the load response time. I stared at the code. She was right. Completely right. We implemented the change that afternoon. Efficiency jumped to 47%. Trent firing her was the best thing he could have done for me. Tech officially launched 3 months after I left Braylock. No flashy press release. No big event. Just a quiet rollout to 5 regional manufacturers who'd tested the system and loved it. But word spread fast. Industry blogs picked up the story. The Real Helios, one headline read. Veteran engineer launches energy revolution after leaving Braylock. Another. Is Tech the future of sustainable manufacturing? Trent's version, meanwhile, was collapsing. Crashes. Bugs. Angry clients. 2 manufacturers sued Braylock for breach of contract after Helios failed during critical production runs. Investors started pulling out. Braylock's board called an emergency meeting. According to Harold, who still had contacts inside, Trent was grilled for 2 hours. They demanded answers, Harold told me over the phone. He promised them a major comeback demo. I leaned back in my chair, staring at the ceiling. When? Next month. At the National Tech Expo. He's going all in. The Tech Expo was the industry's biggest stage. Thousands of attendees. Live demonstrations. Media coverage. Trent was betting everything on one performance. I hung up and sat in silence. Then I called Carter Mills. Get me a booth at the expo. Next to Braylock's if possible. Carter paused. You sure about that? Positive. Done. Game on, Trent. 2 weeks before the expo, something went wrong. Files disappeared from our servers. Designs we'd been working on for weeks gone. Eli suspected sabotage immediately. Nina dug into the logs and found the breach. Someone accessed our system remotely, she said, showing me the IP address. And I know who. It traced back to a freelance coder, Nina's ex-boyfriend, Marcus. He'd worked briefly with Braylock on contract jobs. Eli's jaw tightened. That little. I held up a hand. Let me handle this. I tracked Marcus down at a coffee shop. He looked nervous when he saw me. I sat across from him calm. You sold us out. He stammered. I don't know what. Marcus, I'm not here to threaten you. I'm here to tell you something. I leaned forward. Whatever Trent paid you, it won't be enough. Because when his company falls apart, and it will, you'll be tied to it. And people remember. His face went pale. He said it was just competitive research. It's theft. And you're complicit. I stood up. You can't undo what you did. But you can choose not to do it again. I walked out. That evening, Nina upgraded our security. Marcus never contacted us again. But the damage was done. Trent had seen our designs. He knew what we were bringing to the expo. And now he'd try to sabotage it. The final 2 weeks before the expo were chaos. I worked 18-hour days upgrading security, refining code, running endless tests. My team, Mara, Nina, Eli's crew, pushed just as hard. Trent kept his distance, but not his silence. He appeared on a podcast, confident and loud. At the expo, we'll show the world what real innovation looks like. Some people talk. We deliver. Some people talk. I knew that jab was aimed at me. I just smiled and kept working. I didn't need to respond. My system would speak for me. Carter called with an update. You're set up right next to Braylock's booth. Trent requested it personally. He wants a showdown, I said. Looks like it. Can you handle the pressure? I thought about the boardroom. The humiliation. The stolen credit. 30 years of loyalty repaid with betrayal. Yeah, I said quietly. I can handle it. The night before the expo, I couldn't sleep. I sat in my workshop, staring at the system that had consumed my life for months. It was perfect. Stable. Revolutionary. But doubt crept in. What if it failed? What if Trent found a way to sabotage me? What if nobody cared? Then I remembered Eli's words. You're not doing this for revenge, Eric. You're doing this because it's right. I closed my eyes, exhaling slowly. Tomorrow, the world would see the truth. The expo hall was massive. Hundreds of booths, thousands of attendees, cameras everywhere. Braylock's setup was impossible to miss. Enormous banners, holographic displays, a stage with dramatic lighting. Trent stood at the center, shaking hands, flashing that practiced smile. Our booth was smaller. Simple. Clean. Just monitors, the software interface, and a live connection to Eli's factory for real-time demonstrations. No flash. No gimmicks. Just results. People started gathering. Journalists. Investors. Manufacturers. I saw a few former Braylock employees in the crowd, watching nervously. Trent noticed me and smirked. He walked over, hands in his pockets, radiating false confidence. Danner, he said loudly. Glad you could make it. Let's see if your old tricks can keep up. I looked at him calmly. You'll see soon enough. He laughed and walked back to his booth. The crowd murmured. Someone whispered. Is this a competition? A reporter shouted. Mr. Hollis, are you concerned about Danner Tech? Trent waved dismissively. Competition is healthy. May the best system win. I turned to Mara. Ready. She nodded, fingers on the keyboard. Let's go. The demonstrations began. And the room fell silent. Trent went first. His team activated Braylock's Helios system on 3 connected machines. The display lit up with graphs and numbers. For the first 2 minutes, everything looked smooth. Then the crashes started. One machine froze. Error messages flashed across the screen. Trent's lead engineer frantically typed commands, trying to stabilize it. The crowd shifted uncomfortably. It's a minor glitch, Trent announced, voice tight. We'll reset. Another machine shut down completely. Gasps rippled through the audience. Trent's face reddened. His engineer whispered something urgent. Trent snapped. Just fix it. But they couldn't. The system refused to reboot. After 5 agonizing minutes, Trent forced a smile. Technical difficulties. We'll have this resolved shortly. Nobody believed him. Cameras flashed. Reporters scribbled notes. Trent stormed off stage, his team scrambling behind him. Then it was my turn. I stepped up to our booth, hand steady. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Danner Tech's energy optimization system. No scripts. No staged demos. Just live results. Mara activated the connection to Eli's factory. Real machines. Real data. The monitors displayed everything. Energy consumption, efficiency rates, cost savings. Numbers streamed in clean and fast. 0 crashes. 0 errors. Just flawless performance. The crowd leaned in mesmerized. A veteran manufacturer whispered, "That's incredible." I let the system run for 10 minutes. Every second proved what Trent couldn't deliver. When I finally powered down, the room erupted in applause. Investors swarmed me immediately. Business cards. Handshakes. Questions flying. How scalable is this? What's your production timeline? Can we schedule a private demo? Cameras surrounded me. A reporter shoved a microphone forward. "Mr. Danner, there are rumors that Braylock's Helios was based on your original work. Any truth to that?" The crowd went silent. I saw Trent in the background, frozen, watching. This was my moment. I could destroy him. Publicly. Legally. Completely. I paused. Then I spoke carefully. I developed the core concepts for this system during my time at Braylock. When I left, I continued that work independently. What you saw today is the result of months of effort by my team. People who believed in the vision. "But did he steal your idea?" the reporter pressed. I looked directly at Trent. "He borrowed it. I perfected it." The room exploded with noise. Reporters shouted questions. Trent's face went white. He turned and pushed through the crowd, disappearing into the chaos. I didn't chase him. I didn't gloat. I just turned back to the investors and manufacturers waiting to talk. Because this wasn't about Trent anymore. It was about what came next. The fallout was immediate. By that evening, 3 major investors pulled funding from Braylock. News articles dissected the failed demo. Social media exploded with comparisons. Trent's crash versus my flawless run. Lawsuits piled up. Manufacturers who'd trusted Braylock's promises demanded refunds. Employees started resigning, many reaching out to Danner Tech directly. Braylock's stock dropped 40% in 2 days. Harold called me from a board meeting he was consulting for. "It's chaos here, Eric. They're talking about removing Trent entirely." I sat in my workshop, staring at my phone. "How's he taking it?" "Badly. He sent an email to the board blaming his team. Nobody's buying it." That night, an email appeared in my inbox. From Trent. No subject line. Just 2 words. "Congratulations. You win." I stared at the message for a long time. Part of me wanted to respond. To say something cutting or final. But I didn't. I just closed the email and deleted it. Winning wasn't about him anymore. It never really was. It was about proving to myself that decades of hard work, loyalty, and integrity still mattered. Mara walked in with coffee. "You okay?" I nodded slowly. "Yeah, I'm good." She smiled. "Good. Because Carter Mills just called. He wants to triple his investment." 2 weeks later, Braylock's board made it official. Trent Hollis was removed as CEO, effective immediately. The press release cited strategic differences and performance concerns. Everyone knew what it really meant. Then came the shocking part. The board reached out to me through Harold. They wanted a meeting. I agreed, curious. I sat in the same boardroom where Trent had humiliated me months earlier. The same table. The same chairs. But everything felt different. The board members looked exhausted. Desperate. The chairman spoke first. "Mr. Danner, we made a mistake. A catastrophic one. We're asking you to come back as CEO and help us rebuild Braylock's reputation." I let the words hang in the air. They were offering me everything Trent had stolen. Title, power, control. 6 months ago, I would have dreamed of this moment. But now? I looked around the room and felt nothing. No anger. No satisfaction. Just clarity. "I appreciate the offer," I said calmly. "But I have to decline." They looked stunned. "Why?" I stood up. "Because I've already built something worth leading. Danner Tech isn't just a company. It's a team that values integrity over ego. I'm not interested in saving Braylock. I'm interested in growing what I've started." I walked out, leaving them speechless. Outside, the city skyline stretched before me. Same view. Different man. That evening, I gathered my team at Eli's workshop. Mara, Nina, Eli, Harold, and a dozen others who'd believed in me when nobody else did. I stood before them, overwhelmed with gratitude. I need to say something, I began. Months ago, I walked out of Braylock thinking my career was over. I was 57, humiliated, and convinced I'd wasted 30 years. I paused, looking at each face. You all proved me wrong. You believed in me. You worked alongside me. You sacrificed time and energy for a vision that wasn't even guaranteed to succeed. My voice cracked slightly. This company exists because of you. Not me. You. Mara wiped her eyes. Nina smiled. Eli clapped me on the shoulder. You gave us something to believe in, Eric. That's leadership. I nodded, throat tight. We're not done. We're just getting started. The room erupted in cheers. As everyone celebrated, a delivery truck pulled up outside. Someone brought in a large envelope. Hand addressed to me. No return address. I opened it carefully. Inside was a single handwritten letter. From Trent. Eric, I lost everything. My job. My reputation. My family. I hope you're proud. I read it twice, then folded it carefully. Eli watched me. What does it say? I looked at the letter one last time. It says he still doesn't understand. I walked outside and burned it in a metal drum. Watching the flames consume his words, I whispered, No, Trent. I'm not proud. I'm free. 3 months later, Dannertech won the National Innovation Award for Sustainable Technology. The same award Braylock had won the year before with my stolen concept. I stood on stage, holding the glass trophy, looking out at hundreds of faces. This award represents more than innovation, I said into the microphone. It represents integrity. The belief that hard work, honesty, and perseverance still matter in a world that often rewards shortcuts. I paused. I'm 57 years old. People told me I was too old to start over. Too slow to compete. Too outdated to matter. My voice grew stronger. They were wrong. Age isn't a weakness. Experience is a strength. And integrity built this company. That's something you can't steal. The room erupted in applause. Cameras flashed. As I stepped off stage, I noticed someone in the back row. A hollow-eyed figure, barely visible in the shadows. Trent. He was watching. His face was gaunt. His suit rumpled. He didn't clap. Didn't move. Just watched with empty eyes. Our eyes met across the room. For a second, I felt something like pity. Then I turned away. He wasn't my concern anymore. Mara grabbed my arm as I walked past. Did you see him? Yeah, I said quietly. I saw him. How does it feel? I thought about it. Like closure. Weeks later, I found myself standing outside Braylock's office building. I hadn't planned to come here, but something pulled me back. Maybe I needed to see it one last time. To close that chapter completely. The lobby was different. Half empty. The receptionist I'd known for years was gone. Security didn't recognize me. I walked to the elevator and rode up to the 5th floor, my old department. The hallways were quieter now. Fewer people. Less energy. I found my old desk. Someone else sat there now, a young kid who looked overwhelmed. He didn't notice me watching. I pulled a note from my pocket, something I'd written that morning. I walked over and placed it on the corner of the desk. The kid looked up, startled. Can I help you? I smiled. No, just leaving something for whoever needs it. He picked up the note and read it aloud. Never let them take your name off your work. What does that mean? He asked. I looked around the empty office one last time. It means protect what you build. Document everything. And never let anyone convince you that loyalty means silence. I turned and walked away. As the elevator doors closed, I felt the weight lift completely. That part of my life was over. And I was okay with that. Outside, my phone buzzed. A text from Carter. International contract approved. Germany, Japan, and Brazil want in. I smiled, walking toward my car. The future was calling. 6 months after the expo, Dannertech occupied 3 floors of a modern downtown building. 50 employees. 12 international clients. Revenue projections that made my head spin. We'd become everything I'd dreamed of and more. I stood in my office, clean, simple, with windows overlooking the city. My desk held a single-framed photo. My team at Eli's workshop on that first day. Tired. Hopeful. Ready to build something real. Mara walked in with quarterly reports. Profits are up 60%. We're outpacing every projection. I nodded, still amazed. How's the new mentorship program? Fully enrolled. 20 mid-career professionals getting training and placement assistance. Just like you wanted. That program meant everything to me. Helping people who'd been pushed aside, told they were too old or too slow. Giving them a second chance. The way Eli gave me one. My phone rang. Unknown number. I answered. Eric Danner. A shaky voice responded. Mr. Danner? This is Marcus. Nina's ex. I know I don't deserve your time, but I need advice. I made mistakes, and I'm trying to rebuild. I heard about your mentorship program. I paused, considering. He'd betrayed us. Sold our designs. But people could change. I'd seen it. Send me your information, I said finally. No promises. But I'll review it. Thank you, he whispered. Thank you. I hung up and stared out the window. The sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of orange and gold. Somewhere out there, Trent was rebuilding too. Or trying to. I didn't know. Didn't need to. My journey wasn't about him anymore. It never really was. It was about proving that integrity wins. That hard work matters. That you can lose everything and still build something extraordinary. I picked up my coffee, took a sip, and smiled. Justice wasn't loud. It wasn't vengeful. It was simply this: standing in an office I built, leading a team I respected, doing work that mattered. And making sure that anyone who came after me knew one thing: your name belongs on your work. Always. I opened my laptop as another contract notification appeared. Brazil wanted to expand. Japan requested a meeting. The world was waiting. And I was ready. Not bad for a 57-year-old support man. Not bad at all.